you're wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
Boring. 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 Boring.
You got it work. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what we're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Lembit Öpik here on unprecedented.tv. Lembit Öpik Live now available on YouTube as well at Unprecedented TV. We're still working on it. You will find it there. I'll push that a little bit more once we've really got the tech going, but you'll find us there as well as on unprecedented.tv on X. So we're getting there, soon Rumble as well. The station's really developing, and I'm grateful for all of you watching. We had our best week last week. Tens of thousands of you joined us, and long may that continue. The more you watch us, the more we can do as well. Coming up this week, we have so much to talk about, not least the fact that Keir Starmer seems to stagger from defeat to defeat at the same time as his ministers spent the weekend rather awkwardly discussing the whole question of who's to blame for the fact that Labour lost the vote, or at least the Labour government lost the vote on welfare reform. As Kemi Badenoch, for once doing reasonably well in Prime Minister's questions, said, he must be one of the only Prime Ministers ever to introduce a cost-saving welfare reform that ends up costing more. Meanwhile, we had the rather embarrassing spectacle of Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, can't be called an Iron Chancellor, weeping, blubbing away right next to the Prime Minister, her boss. He was literally rubbing shoulders with her. And guess what? He didn't notice she was crying. What kind of empathy is that? Even if you were watching a film, you'd probably notice if the person you went to the cinema with was shedding a few tears and wiping them away like this, but not Keir Starmer, who admitted the next day, confessed, though he probably thought it was quite clever, that he didn't notice. Then in an equally embarrassing situation, when he was challenged by the mainstream media, one of the presenters there, to explain how he felt about the fact that some of his own people were saying he would be going out of that job in a few months. He said, I'm on hard, and I won't use the next word, it's rude. I'm going to find out who it is. Well, no, you're not really hard. You're incompetent, I think. That's what your own colleagues are saying. And to start using profanity in a serious interview falls way below the expectations I have of a Prime Minister. I couldn't have let my children watch that. And if my children had watched it, I'd have had to explain why the Prime Minister was allowed to use language that they get disciplined for, because it's not acceptable to use that kind of language in polite conversation. And this is simply a quick round robin of the problems that the government has been having. Let's see what delights they bring up this week. I have little doubt it's going to keep getting worse. The title of the show today, that Britain's best days lie ahead, are his own words, as you'll find out in a few minutes. But I put it to you, that is only going to happen once he quits. But who do we get next? Well, joining me now is a great friend of unprecedented.tv and Lembit Öpik Live, somebody who's going to have his own feed here as well pretty soon when his show comes on stream as well. It's Warren Thornton, investigative journalist. Good morning to you, Warren. Thanks very much for joining us here on Unprecedented TV as we start the week as usual with you. How are you doing?
Good morning, Lembit. How are you? I am absolutely fine. Sort of reeling, I suppose, from the revelations that have happened over the weekend, and I think you're absolutely right. The only time anything is going to get better is when Starmer actually quits.
Yeah, it does seem like that to me. It's like he just doesn't seem to get it, though. He's blaming everyone apart from himself, Warren.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, he's fighting for his political life at the moment. And all the time he's doing that, of course, he's still making Ukraine his number one priority. I mean, he's beyond belief and beyond stupid. And of course, this was the thing that brought down Thatcher when she was literally being challenged right at the end of her reign. Of course, she chose to go and do various things with the EU instead of staying there and fighting with the political life. And of course, now we have Starmer and Macron getting together. I mean, just unbelievable, Lembit. The stupidity of this is incredible.
It really is. And the problem with it is he's even used this as an excuse. And so embarrassingly, he said, I didn't realise the problems with the reform bill because I was away. Yeah, you were away because you don't realise you're supposed to be working in this country. He's our servant. Imagine if you had a member of staff when there's trouble brewing who clears off and then comes back and says, oh, I didn't realise there was a problem because I was away. Yeah, that's the problem. You were away.
Yes.
If he'd been here, Warren, let's face it, he wouldn't have understood it because he's the least empathic person on the planet. He didn't realise that Rachel Reeves, his own prime minister, was sitting right next to him, bawling her eyes out. How can you be insensitive?
I mean, his own finance minister or chancellor of the exchequer bawling her eyes out. And of course, this has led to all sorts of things, hasn't it? We've had too queer, too care, never here, too tier. It's everything just rolls off the tongue with Starmer, and he makes faux pas after faux pas. We've got David Lammy, his foreign secretary, who's just as bad, shaking hands with al-Jilani, the guy who not so long ago was a terrorist. And of course, Britain was responsible for giving al-Jilani that makeover. It is just incredible. You look at Lammy, and they're talking about him as a successor. Well, we've seen with the
You're joking.
we've seen with the Conservative Party that the diversity hire doesn't really do any good. And of course, Kemi Badenoch is disappearing down the toilet without trace. But who we're going to have? Angela Rayner is positioning herself for a leadership challenge. I mean, the very idea that Angela Rayner could lead Great Britain is quite staggering. There is no one to take over from Starmer, so I think he might stagger on or limp on until possibly April, when, of course, the Ukrainian male model go to court. And, of course, we have the elections in May. And I think the elections in May, we will see a full-scale revolt if that happens. He may go sooner, but I'm predicting that April and May of next year will be the death knell of him if he doesn't.
Let's have a look at something which pretty much accurately summarises my own feelings on the matter, which was on the TV recently. Have a watch of this.
Tears for government today, because a year
Lots of tears, though.
But a year after securing that landslide victory, the polling indicates that 72% of Oz think Sir Keir Starmer's government is as much chaos as the last Conservative
And
one.
you can't help but think maybe he thinks that too. The drama surrounding Rachel Reeves, for instance, and the welfare bill and her tears seems to have resulted in the Prime Minister receiving his lowest approval rating yet.
Well, recent polling also suggests that if there was a general election tomorrow, Reform UK would get 290 seats. Now, it's not enough for an outright majority, but heck, what a jump it is up from the current 4 that they have, leaving top cabinet ministers without a job. So can Labour turn it all around?
Let's speak to political commentator Suzanne Evans.
No, we're not going to do that. We're going to speak to you instead. Basically, it seems to me...
Very good morning, Suzanne. I mean, this is quite a...
Sorry about that. It seems to me that the summary there is pretty much how a lot of people feel, that she's just not doing the job as Chancellor. She's just sitting there crying next to Starmer. He's not doing the job as Prime Minister, and certainly not doing the job as a caring boss by not noticing that she's crying. And it just summarises the whole mess. It's terrible. It's terrible what's going on there.
There's no question that it's pretty horrific. I mean, to have to sit there and not know that is happening to one of your members is quite incredible. Now, let's not forget that when Nigel Lawson quit, of course, he damaged Thatcher incredibly badly. And of course, Geoffrey Howe was removed from being the Chancellor of Exchequer, and he was moved to being the Deputy Prime Minister, and of course he resigned. But he wasn't technically the Chancellor of the Exchequer at the time, but they moved him and he didn't like that. So you had Nigel Lawson, who damaged Thatcher very, very badly. And this should be a lesson in politics, which obviously Keir Starmer hasn't understood. The moment you, and the same happened, shall we say, with the Conservative Party, of course, with Liz Truss. The moment you offer up your Chancellor of your Exchequer or your Finance Minister as a sacrificial lamb, you are finished. You are damaged so badly you don't recover.
Yeah, and what I'm surprised by, in a sense, by him, by Keir Starmer, that is that he doesn't seem to realise what's going on. He doesn't seem to be aware of the fact that the sharks are circling. You mentioned Angela Rayner. We've talked about her leadership ambitions, stoked up by the fact that she claims she has none. And then you see pretty much open revolt with so many Labour MPs threatening to vote against a reform bill, one of their flagship bills. And then you see him saying that he's got his eye off the ball because he's doing international things. You amaze me when you say that you think David Lammy could be a successor. They're stunned.
They're touting him, and that's the horrible thing, because they're actually, I mean, this is a guy who can't even keep a taxi clean. It is quite incredible that they're coming out with this. And of course, Angela Rayner's got people are going to say that. It's going to be Rayner versus Lammy, basically. Yvette Cooper couldn't stop the boats. She couldn't do a thing. Bridget Phillipson, well, no, that's not going to happen. So it is a straight sort of a fight, if you like. Jess Phillips is too embroiled in the grooming gang scandal, so it's not going to be her. So it'll be a straight fight between those two, really. The intellectual powerhouse, of course, that thinks very much that Henry VII succeeded Henry VIII, and Marie Antoinette got a Nobel Prize for her work in radiation, versus Angela Rayner, who literally has employed somebody, that he's well versed in the Oldham scandal and didn't want anybody to have a grooming gangs inquiry. And of course, Angela Rayner's people are going to come out. I mean, it's sort of like a line out of Yes Minister, isn't it? It's like, well, of course, one doesn't privately seek the highest office, but of course, if one's friends decided that it was a good idea, that it was, no matter what my private wishes may be, that the best point for me to serve the country would be from number 10, then of course I might have to grudgingly accept, regardless of my own private wishes.
But it's just, I think the problem I've got here is both Angela Rayner and David Lammy are so clearly underqualified. They're not educationally qualified for it. I don't even understand why Harvard entertained any prospect of giving David Lammy any kind of a qualification, because it's actually rather undermining to Harvard's reputation.
Yes.
As for Angela Rayner, she just does this dismal job every time she stands in for Keir Starmer. I've debated against her. I am so unimpressed. Actually, I'd like to debate with her at the Oxford Union. Let's just see who wins that one. I'd be very keen to do that. In fact, I might suggest it to the Oxford Union Debating Society. That would be fun. But she doesn't seem to have any gravitas. There's just nothing there. And she can't answer questions without reading them. And she doesn't seem to have any spontaneity.
Well, none at all. I mean, you sort of look at Angela Rayner and you turn around and think to yourself, she probably left school with more children than she did O-level. It is one of those where you just sort of, the moment she opens her mouth, she doesn't sound even remotely prime ministerial. You want somebody who's going to be very, very, shall we say, she doesn't have the decorum to carry this off. No. I mean, when you see the outfits she turns up in, it looks like something out of a disaster where she's going the earliest stage of a makeover, shall we say.
Let's see what actually Lorraine, she made a fairly good number of points on this subject on her station. See what you think of this.
This morning, the government winning the Commons vote on its benefits bill by 75 votes, but only after offering several concessions to Labour rebels, now leaving Keir Starmer's authority in question. If we have a look at the papers, there we are. Utter capitulation, reads the Express, no surprise, while the Times described it as humiliation. Well, with headlines like this, it's hard to believe. It's been just 12 months since Labour's landslide victory. So how does the party think the first year in power has been? Joining me now, Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner. Angela, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming in. A tumultuous night last night, all very embarrassing. People have called it a shambles, your own MPs. How are you feeling about it all this morning?
Well, welfare reform is always difficult. And I think one of the things that I would reflect on is this week is in particular around making sure we get this right.
Yeah.
So some of the concessions that people have said or the work that we did with MPs was to make sure that, first of all, anyone listening to your show today, they know that there will be no changes to their welfare. And I want to make sure that people are reassured by that, because a lot of people have been scared about what's going to happen. And then the future will be co-designed. The criteria will be co-designed with disability groups, and we needed to put what is being known as the TIMS review. That had to happen before the changes came in, and that's what MPs were really concerned about, making sure that we did things in the right order, supportively, so that people can be reassured that yes, we will reform the welfare state because it's going up at a really rapid rate. We need to get people into good employment and the support there. So we're bringing that package forward, but also make sure that people who are really vulnerable and need that help get the right and proper help.
Sure. And nobody would ever disagree with that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that absolutely need help. The thing is, it's the question that you always have to ask. Where does the money come from? And of course, there's a lot of people sitting today thinking, okay, that's all very well and good. People are going to get help. How are they going to pay for it? Will taxes go up? That's the question everybody wants
Well,
to
the
know.
challenge we've got is the projections for the welfare bill is going up rapidly.
Yeah.
So there isn't a savings now because there wouldn't ever be. But what's going to happen, it's going to increase. We've got to flatten that curve a bit because far too many people are being not supported enough into good employment. So that does have a cost to it if the welfare bill goes up too high. And that'll have to be set out in the budget in the normal way. And Rachel, our Chancellor, will have to look at those challenges that we face.
It's going to be so difficult. The thing is...
What's she saying? What did you learn from that? What did you learn from that? It just sounded... Yeah, it was rubbish. It's completely opposite of what they've been saying in Parliament as well.
Yeah, it is quite staggering. I mean, it is... I remember Anne Widdecombe once saying, I think he was trying to remember who it was about, but it was said there was something of the night about him.
That was about Michael Howard.
There we go, Michael Howard. That's the guy I was trying to think of. No matter what she says, a good friend of mine, and he's a very erudite parliamentarian. I won't name him, but he did turn around and said that whenever she opens her mouth, he said, all you can think about is there's something of the council estate about her. She's not.
That's so middle class, bigoted of you.
Yeah, it might well be, but
that's offensive. What's wrong with the council estates in my constituency were the one group that never wavered.
No,
they didn't vote in enough numbers for me to win. If they had, I'd have won. But they supported me, so I kind of got a vested interest in the council estates.
I'm not saying that council estates are bad. I am just saying that is the perception that comes from the people. And let's face it, the House of Commons is mainly made up of middle-class people. And people can have a go at me all they like, but that is a reality of the situation. Nobody's buying Angela Rayner, and nobody's going to. Roast me all you like.
Well, yeah, all right. I still think you're sailing very close to the wind by what you're saying there, but maybe I'm just being woke. Well, I'm not sure. I don't think it's her origins that are the problem. It's her lack of application. I don't think she's smart enough actually to be honest either to do the job. I don't think she's got the mental capacity to do the job, but I don't know that. But it's a lack of application. There are people who aren't very smart. There's a chap called Ronnie Campbell, who was an MP in the northeast of England. Really lovely guy. He wasn't going to win no mastermind, but boy, he was a good good MP, and he's very popular. In fact, I don't think he ever lost. I think he retired in the end. And you don't have to be a brain box to do the job, but it's like I can't see the merit in Angela Rayner. I'd like to see her or David Lammy being Prime Minister if we don't have Keir Starmer to the end, because it would be a road crash.
Well, she's done all sorts of things. I mean, it's not just that she's every time she opens her mouth, you sort of like people sort of recoil. And I've asked loads of people this, and they've said the same thing. Whether it's unfair or not, that's another matter. But perception is perception. And of course, there's a police in the investigation over whether she broke the electoral law and paid enough tax when selling her house. And then, of course, she makes gaffe after gaffe. And of course, lots of people on Lorraine Kelly turned off, so it's quite incredible, Whenever she does an interview, Lembit, it's car crash. I mean, you watch just to see the complete, her pop out in a cold sweat. It's just incredible when she said she was being grilled by Trevor Phillips on the government's plan to end the housing crisis by building 1.5 new homes. He asked her how many of those.
1.5 million, not 1.5. There's a gaff. You see, there's something of the Council of State about you. I could say, Warren, if you
1.5 million homes, which is going to be filled by 2.5 million immigrants.
That's the issue. That is the issue which no one seems to want to tackle in Labour. That the number of homes they're going to build would house fewer people than their uncontrolled immigration is bringing into the country. After all the promises that Keir Starmer made, all those promises, and yet they just have totally failed to stop the flow. Why can't they do it?
Well, they can't do it because very simply they've no invested interest in doing so. They don't want to stop illegal migrants. You can say this is being as cruel as you like or whatever, but she is in a constituency where she can't upset the Asian community in her constituency. Otherwise, she's going to be out on her ear. So she's going to put up with any number of people coming across on the boats. She's going to put up. She was the one who, this woman actually blocked the grooming gangs inquiry. She actually did not want a grooming gangs inquiry because it would obviously hurt her votes in her constituency. Well, I'm sorry, that's not what you're elected for. You're elected to look after the people of Great Britain, and that is not what she is doing. And of course, she will. I'm not being funny. She will throw Keir Starmer under the bus just as quickly as Keir Starmer has thrown Rachel Reeves under the bus. There is expediency in politics, Lembit. You know this. There is never any loyalty.
Yeah, but it's a particular betrayal on the boats there. The French doing very little about it in this scene because Keir Starmer slammed the Tories for stopping scenes like this, for not stopping scenes like this, and it's actually gone up 40 or 48% this year.
Yes,
that's the incredible thing.
But they don't care, Lembit. This is the thing. There is not one MP. If you turn around and you say to any of the parties, mass deportation, even Nigel Farage doesn't want it. So what is the overall thing here? It can't be stupidity, Lembit, because this is happening all over Europe, and people are voting reform in large numbers. They're not voting reform because Angela Rayner comes from the council estate. They're not voting reform because she said she'd build all these houses and they're not being built. They're not voting reform because of Ukrainian male models. They are voting reform for one thing and one thing only, and the conversation they won't have is immigration. Simple as that.
That's definitely going to be a recurring theme. Every day there's a calm day on the channel, you're getting more people coming across.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's going to be a massive problem for the government. Massive.
Any government. Mass deportations, Conservatives are against it. Farage is now against it. And of course, the Labour are exactly the same. So the people of Great Britain, Lembit, are being done a massive disservice here.
I'm not 100% sure where reform's going to end up on this, to be honest with you. It could be that they're going to clarify their position. One of the things that's necessary to remember about reform is they're still a pretty young party, and policy making is hard. I went through all this in the Liberal Democrats when there was a period of naivety at the beginning, and then they became a bit more mature, but all that was thrown out the window, of course, by Nick Clegg. But there was a period when the party was pretty good at doing policy, but it took a while to get there. Nevertheless, let's get to the other main event, a piece that I saw, which really ties into perhaps the most ridiculous claim that Keir Starmer's made. He said, Britain's best days lie ahead, which causes me to ask, does that mean he's about to resign? Because I can't see how the best days can lie ahead while he's in charge, because he's not solving the problems. He's causing them. He's causing them by having such a bad cabinet of ministers who simply don't seem qualified to do the job. Terrible policies, punishing people with children in private schools, even though they save money by taking their children out of the state system, and the proportion will go back into the state system, which will cost money. By having a preposterous policy towards Ukraine, which would cost billions for no benefit, by saying he can rustle up like 60 billion a year extra for war, but he can't afford to scrap the 2-child benefit cap, even though we haven't got enough births in this country. And the list goes on. So I don't really understand what he means by Britain's best days lie ahead, Warren.
Well, I think he's going to take I think he's going to try where he can to take everybody with him on this sort of warmongering path he's got for Ukraine, and sort of raise the Union Jack and all the rest of it, and try and do a Thatcher from 1982. It's absolutely not going to work. What nobody in the House of Commons tackled him with, and this is why I am absolutely furious with the people who purport to represent the people in the House of Commons. The exact same money he was going to steal off of the disabled was the exact same money he was going to give Ukraine. Not one person picked up on that. Not one person tackled him on.
Yeah, that's a real big worry. I have to say, all the money that's been squandered in Ukraine, it is a waste, total waste, because the longer that war continues, the more Ukrainians will die in disproportionate numbers to the Russians. I do not believe that more Russians are dying than Ukrainians, and I'm sure you don't either.
Absolutely not. There is no way that's happening. So I'm going to give you a heads up here. The Ukrainians are dying at one. We have this from people we know that work with the International Red Cross. So 1,628 Ukrainians are dying every single day. We know that from the Ukrainians themselves, that they have a standing army of around 900,000 men. We also know from our sources in the International Red Cross, they're losing 1,628 on average a day. So that literally gives them till next August, when they only have 240,000 troops left. And of course, that would be for the square area that Ukraine currently occupy. Of course, they will lose more area as the time goes on and the army starts to reduce. But at the moment, as it stands, they would have one man for every 2.5 square kilometers. Now, that's obviously going to collapse very, very quickly.
One man, how are they going to do anything with that?
Exactly. So they'll have to shrink the pocket. And of course, Russia will take more land much quicker. And of course, BlackRock are already backing out, Lembit.
Tell us who BlackRock are. Just remind our viewers.
BlackRock are obviously this major bank that they are a hedge fund, if you like, that literally look after people's investments. And of course, a lot of money has been ploughed into Ukraine for the, shall we say, the minerals that are under the soil. Well, just the other day, Russia took the largest lithium mine in the world in Shevchenko. They literally took that off the Ukrainians, and they now occupy that. So, of course, BlackRock are starting to back out left, right, and centre. Nobody wants to pay for the rebuild of BlackRock, Lembit, but everybody now wants to pour money
Ukraine, not of BlackRock.
Sorry, yeah. Literally, nobody wants to pay for the rebuild of Ukraine, but BlackRock are quite happy to put, should we say, feelers out there for people who want to invest in more missiles to throw at the Russians.
Let me now show you something which has caused me to have this conversation about the state of Labour. This is a video created by Keir Starmer's people, which has prompted me to consider whether Britain's best days lie ahead. Obviously, he's going to say it's thanks to him. Have a watch of this. Well, maybe we can't. Let me just have a look. Yeah. A few glitches in the system today. I think the team's just, they haven't done their research. Come on, boys, get it sorted out. Get it sorted out. I think they got it now. Let's see if we can make this work. Here it comes. Yeah.
Across Britain, people get up every morning to go to work, to get their kids to school. They pay their bills, try to save a bit. They graft. The factory workers, small business owners, teachers, carers, those who serve our country, whether that's in scrubs or the uniform of their regiment. The ordinary people, the men and women who make this country what it is. People like you and your family. And that's who I think of every time I face a decision. I know, like all of us, you are proud of our country. We all love our country. But I also know that at times it doesn't feel like Britain is fair enough for those people, the people who are getting on with it. And that's what drives me forward, at home or representing our interests abroad. I'm putting you first, making Britain fair for you again, building more affordable houses, fixing the NHS, securing our borders, giving your kids more opportunities, cleaning up our streets, putting more money in your pocket, but most of all, giving people a sense that we're moving forward, so that the pride we all feel for our country grows into a confidence, a determination, a certainty that our very best days lie ahead.
Unbelievable.
If I may, so proud of the UK, where if you wave your flag or anything else, you get arrested because it's offensive to hang out a Union Jack. Teachers, where you literally have LGBTQ pride rampant and, should we say, drag queen story hour. A two-tier police system. Is that, when he talked about fairness, a two-tier police system, there's two people do the same thing wrong, then the person who is an immigrant gets punished less. Securing our borders, which you completely and utterly failed to do. Tax, of course, which you put up through the roof, so you want a fairer tax system. And then, of course, you stole money off the disabled and off of the pensioners as well, so you could go and fight your war in Ukraine. Yes, Keir, you've done an absolute bang-up job so far.
Ben Habib, who's getting back into the political frame with his own movement, as he's planning to create into a party, he says, I asked him if Keir Starmer was doing a good job. He said, yes, he's doing a very good job if his aim is to destroy Britain. And a lot of people feel that way. And back to that early clip, Keir Starmer's rock bottom in terms of popularity. I checked myself today, and he, of all the leaders, has the largest number of people who think he's doing a bad job. Where do we go from here, Warren?
I mean, we can't go for anybody else. We have to go. I think the only way, Lembit, is possibly for you to get back into politics and take over. He's one of those. He's just there is nothing about him that appeals. Whether that be his character, his manner, the policies he does, the way he is on the world stage. He is just he's vanilla. He's absolutely nothing. He's not anyone's taste whatsoever.
Thanks very much indeed. We'll leave it there for now. So you're not a big fan of the essentially party political broadcast they've created for themselves. But where can we get a Warren Thornton political broadcast if we want to pursue your actions and your comments?
Very simply, we do a programme at night between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. where we go through the news. And of course, we talk about all the burning issues from across various countries. And of course, the wonderful Lembit Öpik joins us on Sunday nights between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. But Monday to Friday, 6 p.m., 8 p.m. at warrenthornton.com.
Thanks ever so much. Always good to have you on the show. And I'll certainly be there. I might try and do one or two of the shows during the week. And be aware that also we're hoping to start feeding Warren Thornton's prolific output through Unprecedented TV as well. We've just got a few technical things we have to do with that. With the ever-expanding set of programmes. Also coming up this week, we'll have Claire Dyer with Dire Consequences and the inimitable and dulcet tones of Basil Valentine, the Basil Valentine Show. So we are expanding. If you'd like to advertise on the station, then do please get in touch at Lembit Öpik on X, the same place you can watch the show. Also, if you've got a show idea that you'd like to have, we'd love to hear it. We are pretty free-spirited here. I'm very keen to help you get your message across as well. We try to avoid swearing and offensive language, but not offensive ideas, because we can't give offense, we can only take it. So if you have something outrageous that you want to share, as long as you do it politely, then that's fine. Also, you'll find that this week we're going to focus on some of the problems that government's having in terms of managing its own backbench. I hope to talk about that. And as always, we'll be covering some of the ludicrous claims made about the, in my view, non-existent climate crisis. Once again, big thanks to Warren Thornton, but thanks to the team here at the studio as well. We might be doing another show later on today. I'm not sure yet. So do keep your eyes peeled. If you like it, tell your friends, do retweet it. It helps us a lot as well. We like to think, free speech central here at unprecedented.tv. I'm Lembit Öpik. Have an absolutely wonderful day. And more than anything, keep thinking for yourself, because if you don't, who's going to do it for you?
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
Boring. 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 Boring.
You got to work. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages,